fundador de más de 20 empresas, filántropo y conferencista internacional, ha dedicado su vida a transformar desafíos en oportunidades a través del entendimiento del comportamiento humano. Ha recaudado más de $1 millón para causas benéficas, ha hablado en los 5 continentes y ha compartido escenario con figuras como Sir Richard Branson y el presidente Bill Clinton. Es además un atleta consumado y una voz influyente en liderazgo y crecimiento personal. Con ustedes, Peter Sage.
Wow. Buenas tardes, México. Buenas tardes, Puebla. It is a real pleasure to be here with you guys today. And today we're going to be talking about health. Health comes in 2 forms. It comes in mental health, but also physical health. But I really want to share with you today some of the insights that'll demonstrate why your mind, the mental health, is way more important. Why? Because the body follows the mind. Who you show up at in the gym is way more important than the kind of workout you do. You pay a lot of money to hire expensive personal trainers or get the next piece of exercise equipment. But 6 months later, nothing really changes. Why? Not because of the equipment, not because of the exercise routine, but because who showed up to be able to do it. And that's the same in almost any part of life. But today I want to share with you some hints, some tips, leave you with some practical things that you can do that'll allow you to conquer the impossible. Now, let me first outline what is impossible. Let's define impossible. Has anybody here ever ran a marathon, 42 kilometers? Okay, a few of you. It's a pretty tough race. And if you look at a marathon, it takes about 3.5 hours, between 3 to 5 hours, depending on how fit you are. And you get a good night's sleep before, and you definitely get a good night's sleep afterwards. If you want to take it to the next level, you can have what we call an Ironman. An Ironman gives you not only a 5-kilometer swim, 180-kilometer bike ride, but then you run a 42-kilometer marathon after that. And the average time it takes is around 12 hours. And you get a good night's sleep before, and you definitely get a good night's sleep afterwards. Then we go up to another level. We go to what we call an ultramarathon. An ultramarathon is anywhere from 7 to 10 days. And back 22 years ago, I ran the ultramarathon across the Sahara Desert called the Marathon des Sables. It's a marathon every single day, back to back for 7 days. Apart from day 4, which is a double marathon, 84 kilometers. And you're sleeping about 6 to 8 hours a night. The body is in complete disrepair, and it's a very tough event. I think the toughest sporting event televised that we watch would be something like the Tour de France. The Tour de France is 23 days. That's 21 race days, 2 rest days, and it's approximately 6 hours a day of grueling cycling, back to back. And you're sleeping between 6 to 8 hours every single night. That puts an ultramarathon to shame. But there's something that's not only the next level, but something so far beyond that, that 20 times more people have summited Everest than have ever completed the next level. And that is what's known as the world's toughest row. This is taking a small boat with no engine, powered only by oars, across the Atlantic Ocean, where you are in pairs. I was part of the pairs race this year. We finished this, well, you'll find out if I finished or not, but we finished this around 3 months ago. And when there's 2 of you, you row for 2 hours and then you swap. So somebody is rowing at all times because you need the power to go under the rudder. You need the water to be moving under the rudder so you have control over where the boat goes. So you're rowing for 2 hours on, 2 hours off, 2 hours on, 2 hours off, 24/7 for up to 2 months. Completely self-sustained, which means that nobody's allowed to touch the boat. There's no supply. There's no safety boat. You're on your own. We have solar panels to generate the power, to power the water maker so we can turn the seawater into water for ourselves. We have to take all of the food that we're going to be eating. And we have to face the might of the Atlantic Ocean in something that is just a little bit bigger than a canoe. That's the size of the boat that we're on. It's called an ocean rowing boat. And it is one of the most extreme endurance events that you can actually prepare for. You have the nearest human is in the International Space Station. The nearest land is 6 kilometers underneath you. You're completely isolated. And the route takes you from the Canary Islands across the Atlantic to the Caribbean. It's 4,800 kilometers. 2 hours on, 2 hours off. The most sleep that you are going to get at any one time is around 90 minutes. The 2 hours in the daytime, it's too hot to sleep, and the boat is too uncomfortable. In the little cabin, I can't even stretch my legs. So at nighttime, when you're physically exhausted, you try to sleep, but if something happens on deck and you have to go and help your friend, that completely interrupts your sleeping pattern. So hopefully when you change over and there's nothing that's going to cause a problem, what happens is you get in, you take off your wet gear, you snuggle into the cabin, you get everything ready for when you're going to be awake. You do a debrief with your partner before you go in the cabin on what the weather state is, what the sea state is, what the wind state is, what the waves are doing. And at night, you can't see anything. You can see where your oar goes into the water, but you can't see anything else. You can't see the waves, where they're coming from, how big they are. You can't see where the sea finishes and the sky begins. You see stars and you see your oar. It's very isolating. And 4,800 kilometers. In fact, this is a picture at the start line where we had 3,000 miles to go. There's myself on the oars and there's my best friend Lee, who I rode with, who's on the steering lines. The problem was, it wasn't 3,000 miles to go. It was more than that. Because just before we were set free to start the race, a few days before they said, we've got some bad news. There's a weather system coming in. There's a storm coming in. And we will never send you out if it's dangerous, but that doesn't mean to say we won't send you out when it's difficult. And it's going to be difficult. So you have to go a day early. Normally we leave on the 12th of December, which is a symbolic place where Christopher Columbus set off on the same place on the same day. But they left us a day early to try to beat the storm. And after 4 days, where they said, just head south, forget the Caribbean, just go south. So we rode an extra 200 miles south. And then the storm came. And Lee and I have never rowed before. We had some training to make it as safe as possible, but nothing prepares you for an 11-meter wave. 11-meter waves are about the height of this building. And this is what it looks like on a surfboard. We didn't surf. And these guys are crazy, but they know what they're doing, and they're quite close to land, and there's people around them. We had nothing. And when you're facing an 11-meter wave every 5 seconds for a couple of days, you kind of numb yourself to the terror. You have to deal with what's there. There's no rescue. There's no one's coming to save you. As you just heard Matthew say, you are the cavalry. And essentially, to get through that, there was 3 primary keys that I kept relying on, and I want to share with you today. Because there was 2 key reasons. Some of you are probably thinking right now, why? Why? Why would you go do something like that? And there's 2 reasons. The second reason is the most important, and I'll share that with you later. But the first reason was I've spent the last 3 decades in personal growth, understanding the mindset, human behavior, what makes us do what we do, what makes us quit when we quit, what makes us persevere. And if I have to teach that, I have to make sure that I'm still qualified to demonstrate that. There's a lot of people out there on Instagram and everything these days that are talking a good talk and trying to tell people what they should do without actually doing it themselves. And I really feel that if I am to continue to teach people how to use their mind, I better go and demonstrate it. So that's why I continue to put myself in situations where I'm still current. To me, that's authenticity. But please don't want you to make the mistake that today's about me. It's not. What I want to share with you has more to do with the second reason, and we'll get to that in a moment. But what are my 3 top keys I can leave you with? The first is this. It's what's called cheerfulness in the face of adversity. And that was our team name. Our boat was christened Boat Cheerfulness. And one of the reasons for that was my partner Lee was a former Royal Marine Commando for 22 years. And the Royal Marines have different philosophies, different tenets. And one of them is cheerfulness in the face of adversity. So we chose that as a team name. Why? Because when you're facing stress, when you're facing fatigue, when you're facing drama, when you're facing adversity, the fastest way to neutralize the paralyzing effects is by trying to find some humor, by trying to reach in and look for something that you can make yourself smile with. And there's always something. This was a little video that we took after about a month at sea where we're trying to keep our spirits high. So, Lee and I have been entertaining ourselves here out on the ocean by playing hide and seek on the boat. And he's getting pretty damn good because I've spent the last 5 minutes trying to find him and I can't find him absolutely anywhere. Lee, come out, wherever you are. This probably stinks. Just for the record, people ask, where do you go to the bathroom? Right? The blue bucket is the bathroom. It's what's known as bucket and chuck it. The yellow bucket is where we wash our clothes. And Lee wouldn't do it in the blue bucket. Right there. On there. But trying to find humor, trying to find, at times where we faced so many hardships, the body is screaming in pain. And one of the reasons for that is because most of us are conditioned to be inside what we call a comfort zone. I've got news for you. It's not a comfort zone. It's a familiarity zone. Within about a week, the body started to settle down. It was giving its protests. Sleep cycle was completely obliterated. You're sleeping for 3 to 4 hours, rowing in tremendous weather, really hard. It is the physical equivalent of running, jogging for 2 hours and then having 2 hours rest, then jogging for 2 hours from Mexico City to Anchorage in Alaska. Non-stop. The second key that I want to share with you is a key part of my philosophy on how to work with life. And it's what's called celebrating the challenges. There's a little video that I took. This is after about 6 weeks at sea. We'd only seen 3 other boats throughout the whole journey. It was very isolating and a lot of drama that we had to deal with in terms of the weather and things breaking on the boat. But this was a little video that I shot just to explain why we face challenges. Hey, good morning. Great morning here. Quite a big waves and significant sea, as you can probably see on here. On there coming around. But I was on the midnight shift last night and there was no moon up yet, so it was pitch black. I couldn't see where the waves were. And it started raining. I'm thinking, oh, have I got time to get my wet weather gear on? And as soon as I thought that, it absolutely dumped on me. Everything was soaking in seconds. My shoes filled with water. I was soaked to the skin. And part of that is because the closer we get to Antigua and the Caribbean, the more isolated thunderstorms and squalls we're going to get. Now, that's a great sign. Oh, big wave. Here we go. Whoa! You get the idea. And it often reminds us the closer we get to our goal, sometimes the bigger the obstacles. Stick with it, guys. That's a sign that you're on track. Love you. the closer we get to our goal, the bigger the obstacle. Why is that? Well, I firmly believe that one of the greatest days in a human being's life on their journey to emotional maturity. See, we don't get to vote whether we mature physically. That's just part of the rule set. Alberto, 97 years old, amazing. But he looks different to when he was 27 years old. You're going to look different 20 years from now than 20 years ago. We don't get to choose whether we age or not. But we do get to choose whether we mature emotionally. And one of the greatest realizations, I believe, in a person's journey of emotional maturity is the day they realize that life is a growth-centric experience, not a comfort-centric experience. If you're trying to make life fit your pictures and protect yourself with comfort, life is going to come along and slap you out of it. How many people have experienced that at some point in their lives, right? We all have. Why? Because when you wake up to life being a growth-centric experience, everything shifts. And the metaphor that I want to give you is that if you were an athlete, but you didn't know that you were an athlete, and you go to the gym and you have a personal trainer, you're going to try to hide from the personal trainer. He's going to try to make you do press-ups until you're sick, run on the treadmill until you can't stand. You're going to do everything you can to do the minimum required to get through the workout. But what if you knew you were an athlete? What if you knew you were born for the gold medal in your life? What would happen if somebody came up and said, hey, I've got a great way that you can cheat on your workout? You'd be like, get out of here. I'm here for the gold medal. You see, when you're there and you're lifting that weight on the bar, you can look at it from two places. The muscle is sending messages to the brain. Stop, quit. What are you doing? Pain, pain. But the mindset of the athlete is looking at it differently. They're proud that they can do another 2 burning reps before their arms drop. How are you looking at your challenges in life right now? Are you looking at it from the perspective of the muscle fiber? Or are you looking at it from the perspective of the athlete? Because if you think you live in a comfort-centric experience, you're going to spend your life hiding from the personal trainer. If you step up and appreciate that we live in a growth-centric universe, a growth-centric experience, the best of who we are shows up. It's going to have a dramatic shift on how you see life. See, we don't live in a friendly universe and we don't live in a hostile universe. We live in a self-reflective universe. If you've been in a relationship where somebody left you, you can either say, well, I'm no good, so they left me. Or you can say, well, thank goodness they went, so they made room for somebody who's right. Everything starts here. The final tip I want to share with you: make peace with death. There's never been a race where every boat has made it. There's been never been 1 year in this event where all the boats got to the other side. And last year somebody died. And you're out there in the ocean, there is a significant risk. And at one point, we had a massive wave. We'd already lost 2 oars. These are carbon fiber oars, 6 times stronger than steel. And we had 2 of them snapped in half by the waves. That's the power we were dealing with. And one wave that injured my partner, Lee, damaged the rudder. And we thought there was a rope around it. And the only way to find out is for me to go in the sea, underneath the boat, to find out. But at that particular point, the sea was huge. It was unforgiving. But we had to do it, because if we lost the rudder, we'd be in trouble. And just before going out to go underneath the boat, I made this video. It was a private video. It wasn't designed to be shown, but I think it makes the point with understanding that once you have an understanding of being okay with that, this is an amazing movie that I star in, but there's more movies to come. Whatever your belief system, if you're afraid of death, you're afraid to live. Okay, so we've identified that there's a rope trapped around the rudder. We're in a really big raging sea right now. And the only way really to unwrap that before it damages the rudder is for me to go underneath the boat to be able to do it. If anything were to happen and you find this video, I want you to know this. I volunteered for this. There's nothing Lee could do. I believe I'm going to be protected. I'll be fine. But yeah, if anything happens, please don't put any blame on Lee. This is a job that I volunteered for. All right. Love you, Nadia. If I hadn't been okay with at peace, I would have probably not gone under the boat. We'd have lost the rudder and we'd have drifted out and had to be rescued at some point. It's a topic most people ignore. But through that, what happened? Well, this was the moment we crossed the finish line. The question that I want to leave you with, my friends, is that we all face our own woes. For some people, it's a traumatic divorce. For some people, it's a business failure. For some people, it's the loss of a loved one. I was lucky. I just got the Atlantic. But what are you going to do with your row? The next time you face adversity, as you will, I want you to look in the eye, remember who you are, pick up the oars, and keep going. You got this. Thank you.